Welcome back to Ben's Top 10. And when I was a kid, the internet didn't control our lives. Welcome back to my countdown of my favorite Twilight Zone episodes from each season. Season 3 of the Twilight Zone was when the show reached its apex. It hit the high level of creativity that was never before seen on any other television show. Most of the episodes from this season were average at worst and spectacular at best. There were so many episodes that I loved from this season that I had to do a lot of erasing when it came to narrowing it down to just 10. There were so many great ones that I had an upset stomach when I had to leave so many off. However, if I had a hard time picking them, then that means the episodes that made the cut are definitely, well, I can't think of a word to describe them. So, let's just take a look at them. Here are my top 10 favorite Twilight Zone episodes of Season 3. Number 10, Equality of Mercy. During World War II, a U.S. Army leader is ready to order his troops to make a charge and kill a bunch of Japanese soldiers. His soldiers then say that he's mad with power and that he enjoys killing a little too much. All this comes crashing down on the leader as he all of a sudden becomes a soldier on the Japanese military and he sees firsthand what his enemies go through. With me being the huge history buff I am, I love it when this show takes a supernatural look at it. I also love when it focuses on World War II and the Japanese side of it. I also love plots that deal with a main character going through a change. In this one, we have a maniac who loves to kill, but he starts to think that maybe he's not doing the right thing. Plus, I love plots that deal with the grass is always greener plot line. Well, in this case, the grass is redder. Anyway, Equality of Mercy is one episode that probably didn't go over well with World War II survivors, but it's an interesting look at how the US military deals with our opposers. Number 9, The Hunt. A woodsman and his dog go out raccoon hunting one night. When they both fall into a river and wake up next to a tree, they go home and see that nobody is noticing them. Once the woodsman sees his body being buried, he concludes that he and his dog have died. So, he walks with his dog to the gates of heaven to enter. However, heaven doesn't allow dogs. What is the man going to do? This episode was tailor-made for animal lovers, like myself. Those of us who love animals treat them like members of our families, and we believe that they deserve the respect they give us. Of course, we have to deal with heartbreak, because they age quicker than us, so we lose them a lot. However, there's always that gleaming hope that we'll see them again in the afterlife. That's what this episode touches upon. You love how attached the man is to his dog, to the point where he's not going to go to heaven without him. Don't worry, that's not the twist ending. I'm sure us animal lovers can relate to the man. So, The Hunt is one episode that gives animals the respect they deserve. Number 8, The Shelter. In the eve of a nuclear bomb strike, a family starts to pack all their essentials in their bomb shelter. The only problem is, this certain family are the only ones who own a bomb shelter in the neighborhood. So, all the family's friends and neighbors try to claw their way through and get into the shelter before it's too late. Here is another episode that has a Monsters Are Due on Maple Street feel to it. We get to see how selfish and conceited we can get when our lives are threatened, and how we'll be knocking down whoever's in our way just to protect ourselves. It doesn't matter if they're our friends and neighbors, we only care for our own skin. Plus, I love a moment in the episode where even the families fighting over the shelter realize it only has room for one family, so they start to debate who's more important. I'm surprised to be amazed about how self-centered people can be. So, The Shelter is another great episode that will have you wanting to build a bomb shelter for your neighbors. Number 7, Little Girl Lost. A couple is awakened one morning by the sound of their daughter crying for them. They go into her room and see she's missing. They start to wonder where she is and ask one of the husband's friends to come over. The friend then tells them that their daughter is in the 4th dimension and that they're running out of time to get her out. This is one creepy episode. Off the bat, it sets an uncomfortable tone of a couple's daughter missing. That alone is the biggest fear for any parent. It gets even more creepy when they discover she's in another dimension. Man, these parents can't catch a break. However, it gets even more creepy when the entry to the other dimension is closing and they have to hurry to save her or she'll be lost forever. Parenting rule number 17. Never let your kids sleep in rooms that are pathways to other dimensions. What also makes this episode great is how the fourth dimension looks. Some people have said it's a cheesy effect, but I think it's cool. It sure holds up well in my book. Add the excellent acting of the parents, and you've got yourself one classic episode of this show. Number 6. Once Upon a Time. Legendary silent comedian Buster Keaton plays a man in the 1890s who is frustrated with his modern life and transports himself to the 1960s. When his time machine helmet breaks, he has to get it repaired, and he tries to deal with the ways of the 1960s while his machine is being repaired. This is, without a doubt, the funniest episode of the whole series. I probably said that about Mr. Dingle the Strong, but I've changed my mind. Buster Keaton shows us why he's a legend as he dishes out some great slapstick comedy. I also love how this episode is put together. When it's taking place in the 1890s, it's shot like a silent comedy. However, when it's in the 1960s, it's shot like a talkie movie. It's a great way to show the difference between the two time periods. This episode probably isn't a favorite among fans because it's a comedy, but I love it. I don't mind if a science fiction show has a few comedic episodes. Lots of TV shows have a few episodes that aren't exactly like the rest. Does that make them bad? Maybe, but I still love this episode. It shows that if this show wanted to do comedy, it could do it well. Sometimes. Number 5. The Fugitive. An old man lives every day of his life playing with children and making a girl's life a little better. He's got a lot of magic powers and is able to do lots of great things. This man is no ordinary man, of course. He's an alien, and life isn't all about fun when two men show up wanting to take him back to his home planet. This episode is really touching. It's an episode for those who are young at heart and just love living life with as much fun as possible. Also, for a 60s TV show, it gets a little edgy when it hints at pedophilia. At least, that's how I perceived it, seeing as how the aunt of the little girl in this episode yells at the old man for playing with her niece. What a witch. The man's just being friendly. Also, this episode touches upon how we like to try to escape from the hard life and just have fun, but we always have to go back to our responsibilities. So, The Fugitive is an underrated episode of this show, and one that I'll always watch if I need a pick-me-up. Which I'll never need. I'll still watch this episode though, because it's good. I'll stop now. Number 4. The Tradeins. In a future society, an elderly couple is given the opportunity to trade in their old bodies for those of younger ones. The only problem is, the operation will be very expensive, and they only have enough money for one operation. Now, the couple must talk to each other and decide who gets the young body. This is also lighthearted in nature, but it's really heartwarming. The idea that an old couple can become young again is something that I'm sure every old person would jump on. However, this episode is more than that. It asks what's more important, being able to live longer or being able to die with the one you love. I'm not going to give away the ending, but it's really something that'll put a smile on your face. If it doesn't, then you're a demon! Anyway, The Tradeins is another underrated episode that I think deserves more attention from this show's fans. Number 3. 5 characters in search of an exit. A hobo, a clown, an army man, a Scot, and a ballerina are all in a circular room. They have no idea who they are or how they got there. However, there is no ceiling to the room, and they try their best to try to get out and see what's on the other side of the room. This episode is a famous one of the series. It addresses a big fear, and that's isolation. It's really scary to be in a situation where you don't know where you are or how you got there. Also, you're going to be trapped in that said place for the rest of your life. That alone is enough to make somebody go crazy. I know I wouldn't be able to survive being in one room for the rest of my life. I'm not Pink Floyd, dang it! Plus, I love how all the characters in this episode interact with each other. The clown is hilarious, the army man is serious, and I don't remember the other three saying much. However, the characteristics work to the point that we get invested with them and we want to see them escape. And the ending. Holy crap, the ending. Let's just say that a certain animation director might have been influenced by this episode. So, 5 characters in search of an exit is one episode that'll make you happy to know you don't have to be isolated in one place. Number 2, The Changing of the Guard. An old college professor is forced into retirement, but he feels that his life has been worthless. He thinks that he didn't get to accomplish anything. However, one night when he's walking through the college, he's visited by the ghosts of his former students, discovering that he accomplished more than he could imagine. Most people probably wouldn't put this episode this high on any list because it's an average episode, but its plot really touches me. It deals with how some people feel that they never really accomplish anything in their lifetime, so they die unhappy. However, they never even think that their lives have had bigger impacts on others. This hits me right at home. I'm influenced by so many animators that I take so much from what they did. In fact, I'm not the only one. Lots of people have been influenced by the people I'm influenced by. The sad part is, some of them died before they could see how well their work would be appreciated. That's why I love this episode. I love how the man is able to see the impact he's had on those he's taught. It warms my heart. So, this is why I hold this episode so high. It might not be the best made episode of the series, but the message that it gets across more than leaves an impact on you. Number 1. I know this is kinda predictable, but I honestly couldn't help it. This episode is so well made, so creepy, and so famous that deserves to be number 1. So, without any further ado, here is It's a Good Life. It's a happy life in a fictional town in Ohio. Everybody is always smiling and thinking nothing but happy thoughts. The only problem with this town, there's a monster that lives with the people. He's the creator of the own personal hell that the people have to live with every day. The worst part is, nobody can do anything about it because the monster could do terrible things to anybody who opposes what he does. Oh, I forgot to mention, the monster is a little boy named Anthony. I honestly could write a novel about how good this episode is. However, I only have a few minutes, so I'll try my best to sum up everything good about it. First of all, what's scarier than being forced to live in a little town where things you don't like are constantly happening around you and you can't do anything about it? The only thing you can do is smile and say, "It's good that you're doing that, Anthony. That makes me so happy." That's right, not even mannequins are scarier than that. What also sucks is the fact that this episode is so close to real life. Lots of things happen in real life that we don't like, and we can't do anything about it. At least in real life, we can express our opinions about situations. However, in this little happy town in Ohio, they can't say a dang thing. They have to deal with it and agree that it's a good thing. That is really creepy. Could you imagine if we had to do that in real life? What's that? Problem Solvers has a second season? It's good that happened. What's that? JWoww and Snooki have their own reality show? That's really good. That makes me so happy. What's that? Warner Brothers is making a live-action Bugs Bunny movie? Okay, that's it. I'm not dealing with... Ah, crap. So, It's a Good Life is, without a second thought, my favorite episode of Season 3, and one of my all-time favorite episodes of the Twilight Zone. So, there are my top 10 favorite episodes of Season 3 of the Twilight Zone. Season 4... was not very good. The episodes became an hour long and most of them were really dull, so I can't really make a video about them. I can't even make a top 5 episode video about them. So, I'm going to have to skip over that season. Don't worry though, I'll be back for Season 5, and I'm looking forward to finishing this awesome video series. I'm Ben, and I'm signing out. I'm gonna go find my way out of this cornfield.